Before we started calling it Indian English poetry, it used to be called Indo-Anglian poetry. And this is from a book called The Golden Treasury of Indo-Anglian Poetry, selected and edited by Vinaya Krishna Gokak, published the first time in 1970. And because we are in a park and reading poetry, I wanted to read this poem. It is very long. I will only read half, and maybe later, we can look at it again. It's called Businessman and Poet. John is a businessman, and I write verse. He keeps a bank account. I have a purse. He calls me waster as we sat at tea. John looked with a small voice and said to me, I wish you'd say in plain, unornate prose, without one mention of a star or a rose, just where you poet chaps are trying to get. John stretched his toes and lit a cigarette. My apology? What if I have none? Do you demand a reason for the sun? And you're Apollo's followers, I know. I've heard all that before. I've heard you crow of your high mission as opposed to man's. We're not Apollo's followers. We're Pan's. The sun throws light, and by that light we see. But in the darkness also, are we free to look into the eyes of Pan? You had not known the music that on every wind is blown. Without us poets, evermore, verbose. I know now why you write. Each wind that blows must echo to your own dear voice. And you are thus fulfilled, and the wind has had its due. You love to hear your own voices spoken loud. You love the little plaudits of the crowd. I laughed. Dear John, were I in some far place where asses' ears draped never human face, where there was none to praise or criticize, I think I'd say my verses to the skies. Madness incomparable. You think the stars listen attentive to the melting bars of your words-spewing music? John now laughed. I joined him. Oh, I know you think we're daft, but listen, John, and try to understand. You are a businessman. In every land the army of your acolytes is spread. You buy our coffee, cigarettes, and bread, the three chief needs of man. I grant you are of more importance than just a silly star bound up in its own twinkling. He is just an apart, John. What is this little dust wherein stardust do that makes up man? All right, I'll leave the stars out if I can. You grant the value of a Christ who shows what's bad, what's good, and what's for us to choose. You know the importance of old Socrates, without whose thoughts your very bread and cheese would be another story. And you feel as intimately as you know your meal, those thinkers of today who would outlaw the waste and mad bereavement of all war. John stirred his tea. Well, these men bring me sleep when else I toss in fear. For their laws keep a sanity and cleanness in the world. I laughed again. The battle flags were furled in the Parliament of Man. Why, that was said by one of us, who mouldered, thoughtless, dead, before the League was dreamed of. That's my point. The poet sees the world is out of joint, and the philosophers run panting after to set its twisted limbs. Why, that's Pan's laughter and gladness when he sees the fat herds crop grass of contentment. Pan again? Now stop. All right, I said, and waved the thought away. Philosophers are good. They point the way between the wished-for right and the wounded wrong. The poet shows it all in one small song and leaves it for you to choose. Oh, I admit some poetasters are mere blackguards, fit only for scorn from such a one as you. But that's their value. Give the friends their due. You'd not have liked Catullus, but the sage, henpecked old Socrates, who welcomed age, that freedom from the tyranny of youth, was pointing out the self-same saddened truth we find in my Catullus. You can win all wisdom from these men who slept with sin and wrote her murmured thoughts. Lavendered sheets are your inheritance, but read your Keats. Sail with him on the sea of huge unrest. Second-hand knowledge is maybe the best for every man, who would be blinded quite if he could see the naked, quivering light of beauty and of sin. I paused and took a cigarette. I turned my book. Both good and ill we see, and bear the news to strong blind sages who have power to choose. Listen now to the strangest tale of all. Christ, whom even the darkest atheists call sublime philosopher, when he hung broken upon the cross of man, his last words spoken were David's words. And even as he died, his death was prophecy fulfilled, and pride forbore to yield him small relief from pain, but lifted his bruised head. He cried again. Dead birds, a poet sung, made good the curse, ending the rhyme of David's tortured verse. Oh, what had sages known except the song of that small gulf between the right and wrong? John nodded. Yes, through devious paths I see. You chappies have some influence on me. Another coffee or a cup of tea?